Welcome to the 2021 opening session and keynote speaker. Please welcome National League for Nursing Chair, Dr. Patricia Yoder-Wise.
On behalf of the Board of Governors and the staff of the National League for Nursing, welcome to the 2021 National League for Nursing Education Summit. Woohoo! I hardly recognize some of you. I haven't seen you for forever. We are so glad to have so many of you join us in person this year. Our theme this year is leading and teaching beyond resilience. And resilience is something that we've needed a lot of in the past 18 months. The COVID-19 pandemic has made even more obvious just how vital resilience is for nurse educators, nurse leaders, and most especially our frontline nurses. We thank all of them and all of you for doing your part to support public health in the past 18 or more months. Thank you. Today we join together once again to celebrate the role of nurse educators and the impact we all make on our chosen profession and in all nations around the world. This is also a time for the NLN to recognize and honor nurses and all of the healthcare professionals in our community of colleagues who get up every day to share of themselves and to help others, spending time away from their homes and their families to serve the common good. Thank you so much for your work. And now please join me in a moment of silence to recognize those nurses and others who have lost their lives in caring for people with COVID-19 or who themselves contracted the virus. We have been faced with many tragedies, too, that have cost people their livelihoods, their properties, and their lives. Hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, fires, Afghanistan, civil disruptions, disruptions of the supply chains, and global warming. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Next, I am so honored to recognize the members of the National League for Nursing Board of Governors. Their insights and wisdom are truly beyond estimation. I am so thankful for these colleagues. Please stand as I call your name. NLN Chair-elect Extraordinaire, Kathleen Poindexter. Secretary, Cheryl Killian. Treasurer, Ann Krause. The Board of Governors, Mark Hand, Anne Marie Morrow. In absentia, Angela McNeilis and Linda Moneyham. Present, Michael Newsom, Yolanda Van Riel, Mark Vogt, and our newly appointed public member, Walter Bumpus, who I believe also is in absentia. Thank you all. And now it is my pleasure to turn this over to our distinguished, extraordinary, impressive, I've run out of adverbs and adjectives and everything else, President and CEO of NLN, to introduce others, Dr. Beverly Malone.
Colleagues, thank you so very much for joining us this year. And a big thank you to this year's sponsors. Please wait until we have acknowledged all of our sponsors before applauding. We want to first thank Chamberlain University for being our platinum partner for this year's summit. We next thank Laerdal Medical and Western Governors University College of Health Professions for being our 2021 diamond sponsors. Our silver sponsors are Duquesne University School of Nursing and Rasmussen University. Rasmussen University is also the sponsor of this opening session and keynote address. And last but in no way least, we thank F.A. Davis Company for being a bronze sponsor by providing our Friday coffee break in the exhibit hall. Thank you all for all your support of the annual summit and of the NLN. Please now let's have a round of applause for our sponsors. Next, I would like to give a warm welcome and a great big thank you to Dr. Teresa Schellenberger, who began serving earlier this year as Executive Director of the NLN Commission for Nursing Education Accreditation. A distinguished university professor and doctoral program coordinator in the Department of Nursing and Allied Health, professions at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Teresa has been actively involved with the National League for Nursing, serving as secretary of the NLN Board of Governors and on numerous league committees, think tanks, review panels, and task groups. Teresa took over CNEA following the retirement of the incomparable founding executive director, Dr. Judith Halstead, who launched the CNEA in 2014. Judy had long been an indispensable part of our leadership, first in a variety of volunteer roles, including as League president, and subsequently as a member of the League's senior professional staff. We owe her an enormous debt of gratitude, and we wish her well as she retires from full-time service to explore new horizons. Judy, if you're in the audience, would you please stand so we can thank you? And also, Teresa, would you stand? And I am sure you heard about the exciting news about CNEA this spring. We were just so pleased and proud to learn that CNEA had earned designation as an official accrediting agency of the U.S. Department of Education. If I could fly, colleagues, I would fly. This is a stellar accomplishment and one we are still celebrating. We think we're going to celebrate it to the end of the year, so you have plenty of time to join us in celebrating. With this recognition for an amazing 5-year period, CNEA joins other accrediting agencies deemed qualified to monitor the academic quality of post-secondary and educational programs for federal purposes. All those currently accredited by CNEA can now boast accreditation by a U.S. Department of Education recognized agency. Our thanks to Judy, Dr. Kathleen Schultz, the founding commission chair, our new executive director, Teresa, and CNEA's dedicated commissioners, committee members, and on-site program evaluators for their achievement in reaching this important goal. Congratulations, colleagues. Could we all give them a round of applause? Next, on behalf of the NLN Foundation for Nursing Education and Chair Cole Edmondson, Dr. Cole Edmondson, we extend our deepest thanks to all who have contributed to the foundation throughout the year. Here's a brief look at the impact you have made this year. Could we have a round of applause, please? Special thanks to the NLN Foundation Advisory Council, which includes Karen Cox, Robbie Craven, Tim Iman, Elaine Foster, Rob Gregg, Ranil Harath, Bev Malone, Rick Mansour, James Quick, Joan Rich, Paxton Ritter, Mikkel Snyder, Janet Smith-Hill, Mark Voigt, Sebastian Voice, and Abdel Yosef, and 2 members who have chosen to remain anonymous, not to mention the 2021 NLN Academy class and the 2021 NLN Centers of Excellence, and all benefactors of the NLN Foundation Summit. Thank you all. You can see the summit wall actually out in the lobby. And if anyone else would like to be anonymous, just let me know. NLN, we are so happy to thank our generous partners also and sponsors for the following. NLN Chamberlain University College of Nursing Center for the Advancement of Science of Nursing Education, Dr. Karen Cox, President. NLN Walden University College of Nursing Institute for Social Determinants of Health and Social Change, Dr. Sue Sorbis, Chief Academic Officer. Dr. Andrea Lindell, Vice Provost, College of Health Professions, and Vice Provost and Dean for the College of Nursing. And Tom O'Shea, Vice President, Strategic Alliance. Advancing historically Black colleges and university schools of nursing through innovation in technology and teaching excellence, Elsevier Foundation, Elam Skim, Director. NLN and Johnson & Johnson Project, transitioning senior nursing students in historically Black colleges and universities, schools of nursing into clinical practice. The Johnson & Johnson Foundation, in partnership with the Johnson & Johnson Center for Health Worker Innovation. Julie Cornell, Senior Manager, Johnson & Johnson Global Community Impact. NLN Leadership Institute, Galen College of Nursing, Mark Voigt, CEO. Taking AIM series on structural racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion, AMN Healthcare, Dr. Cole Edmondson, Chief Experience and Clinical Officer, AMN Healthcare. Elsevier Education and Health, Dr. Kayvon Holloway, Managing Director, Global Education Reference and Continuity, Health Markets. And Amanda Leader, Senior Vice President, Sales, Nursing and Health Education. ACE Plus, Advancing Care Excellence for the LGBTQ+ community through nursing education. Sarah Mishrove, Director of Strategy and Operations, and George B. Irish, Eastern Director, the Hearst Foundation. Jonas Scholars, Jonas Philanthropies, Mr. Donald and Mrs. Barbara Jonas. We appreciate their support for the National League for Nursing and their continued commitment to make a difference. Please celebrate them with a round of applause. Finally, I would like to thank everyone who is thinking about it and those who go beyond thinking, who will make a donation during this summit. You can find ways to give online at summit.nln.org/NLN Foundation. I know you all join me in thanking these sponsors for their generosity and support. I now turn this back over to Patricia Yoder-Wise, the amazing NLN Chair.
I too would like to thank the many people who give of their time and talent to support the goals and mission of the NLN. What a great team effort. We once again have 2 NLN President's Award winners. The NLN President's Award recognizes leaders in healthcare who are shining examples of the NLN core values of excellence, integrity, caring, and diversity, which we spoke about earlier. These individuals have dedicated their life's work to advancing the health of the nation and the global community. I have the pleasure of introducing the first recipient tonight. Our first President's Award honoree is Rear Admiral Susan Orcega. As Director of Commissioned Corps Headquarters, Rear Admiral Susan Orcega is responsible for directing all functions regarding personnel, administration, operations, readiness, deployment, and policy for the 6,000 officers of the U.S. Public Health Service Commissioned Corps, for which she also served as the principal advisor to the Surgeon General. This includes overseeing the activities of the U.S. Public Health Service Commissioned Corps to support the national COVID-19 vaccination efforts. Rear Admiral Orcega also served as Acting Surgeon General earlier this year. Woohoo! The script did not say that, but how often do we get to say served as the Acting Surgeon General for a nurse. Continuing on with the other boring things, like Rear Admiral Ortega previously served as Chief Nurse Officer of the U.S. Public Health Service. In this role, she advised the Office of the Surgeon General and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services on the recruitment, assignment, deployment, retention, and career development of nurse professionals, and was responsible for providing leadership to 4,500 commissioned corps and civilian nurses. In addition, Rear Admiral Ortega has a distinguished public health, emergency, and disaster care experience, ranging from an elite medical team after 9/11, as well as 14 other national and international disaster, humanitarian, U.S. government missions, serving in roles with progressive nursing and leadership responsibilities. She began her career in the U.S. Public Health Service Commission Corps in 1989 at the National Institute of Health. At that time, when the HIV/AIDS epidemic was unfolding, Rear Admiral Ortega continued to advance her nursing and scientific knowledge with an emphasis on practice as a nurse practitioner. She has authored 19 articles in peer-reviewed journals and presented at 40 major scientific and nursing conferences around the world, including as keynote at last year's NLN Summit. Please join me in welcoming Rear Admiral Susan Ortega.
Thank you all so much. I really like that. The acting Surgeon General, it's really great. Thank you, Pat. I want to start by saying thank you. Thank you to the National League for Nursing for presenting me with such a prestigious award. A special thanks to Dr. Bev Malone, for working so hard to lift and unite the nursing profession, and for making this weekend so very special, and certainly for working hard to ensure all of our safety. To be honored tonight for my work is, simply overwhelming. Growing up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I never envisioned that I would be standing here. The United States Public Health Service has taken me on an incredible journey during my 32-year career. My career actually started as a junior nursing student, working at the National Institutes of Health and the Clinical Center. And in 2001, under the leadership of Dr. Fauci, who took a chance on a recent Uniformed Services University of Health Sciences nurse practitioner graduate, I worked in South Africa, launching research operations to battle HIV. And 7 years later, I returned back to Africa, working in Mali and Liberia during the height of Ebola. Those early years shaped my fundamental leadership skills that I apply every day. In 2019, Admiral retired, some of you know, Sylvia Trent Adams, selected me to serve as the Commission Corps Headquarters Director. It was her support that allowed us at our CCHQ, our headquarters, to achieve the goals and success it has made. I also want to thank President Biden, who selected me to serve as the acting Surgeon General, while waiting for Vice Admiral Murthy to be confirmed, allowing me to keep the Commission Corps at a steady helm at the midst of fighting the pandemic and an administration change. To my family, you are the reason that I stand here tonight. And to my mentors across the nursing profession and others across healthcare, I'm grateful for your unwavering support in challenging me beyond imagine. And finally, to my fellow nurses, the impact that you all have had in nursing is immeasurable. There's no greater joy than doing what you love and being esteemed by your colleagues for simply, doing your job. But make no mistake, because we all have a job to do, now more than ever. And every passing day is a stark reminder of the dire consequences we face, with now children and adolescents being fatally affected by COVID virus at an alarming rate. And in fact, the United States corona death tolls have surpassed 600,000, even exceeding the 1918 Spanish influenza rates. These facts alone are a dismal and sobering milestone for this country. And while we thought of such a morbid message that may seem extreme, how many more lives are we willing to lose before these extreme measures become necessary? We have to do something. And so consider my time at the platform as really our call to action as nurses. And I know we're all fatigued. The battle seems long and sometimes with no end in sight, but we must remain on guard as public health warriors in this fight. 88% of nurses, in fact, in the United States have gotten vaccinated or plan to do so. That's remarkable. And, simply put, our hardworking profession has an optimal moment to brand ourselves while the world looks to us and inspire more students into the nursing profession. A few weekends ago, I looked at the news on my iPhone, and as I scrolled down the screen, there were stories about COVID-19 taking lives in the South, the Hurricane Ida devastation, followed by the Afghan crises. It is clear that all of these crises had taken humanity off guard. We operate under this ethos that bigger and faster will get us to where we need to go. But the map does show us where we're headed. And certainly we know that the weather does too. And the COVID-19 rates tell us where we are going. The writing, in my view, is on the wall, and it's time for us to read proficiently and to see what happens approach is just no longer an option. We can't hit the snooze button. We have to be wide awake, eyes wide open, fully alert. We cannot afford to wait and see what happens next time. So in closing, it is our time in nursing. Working together with a commitment to solidarity, we can end this pandemic and build a much safer, healthier world. And just as influenza shaped our history and our profession, I know COVID-19 will be a discovery of science, a discovery of our profession, and how we will change the way we think in the face of this crisis. It should be the turnkey moment for nursing. So let us look back to learn how to look forward. Wishing you all prosperity and good health. Thank you very much.
Now, I must admit that while she was speaking, I was looking at her shoes. I really thought with all of those accomplishments, she must have had a size 50, but they were just plain shoes in a plain size. And I think it speaks to the fact that when we are committed to something, any one of us could have done. Maybe not all that she did, but we can accomplish true wonders. On behalf of the board and the entire NLN family, thank you so much for what you have done for nursing, for public health, for the country, and for the world. Thank you again, Susan. And now I have an exciting announcement for you. Hit it.
I am so very proud of our remarkable past, our exceptional present, and our shared transformative future.
The National League for Nursing has an obligation to provide relevant, advanced, competency-based programs built on documented research that is designed to achieve excellence in nursing education and practice. This is a perfect example of meeting that obligation for our member schools, and nurse educators everywhere.
On behalf of Erdős and the American Heart Association and our alliance partnership with RQI Partner, this is an exciting day for our relationship with the NLN. It is almost 20 years since Erdős and the NLN started their partnership with the Professor Pam Jeffries team modeling simulation in nurse education. Since then, there has been projects like the Simulation Innovation Resource Center and vSim for Nursing, the computer-based simulation suite that is integrated into the full nursing curriculum. Our shared commitment to the development of nurse competence and confidence resulted in the NLN supporting Professor Orman and her team's work on low-dose, high-frequency basic life support quality improvement. Who would have thought that this would have led us to what we're announcing here today? Dreams do come true.
Our first study was a multi-site design with over 600 nursing students. We studied curriculum dosing, the effect of monthly practice on nursing students' CPR psychomotor skills performance. We found in the seminal 2010 study that low-dose, high-frequency, 3-month cycles were optimal for knowledge and skill retention and eliminated skills decay for nursing students. Self-directed CPR skill practice on a mannequin with high-fidelity feedback was a viable option for nursing students' frequent practice. Along with my co-authors in a current study we just completed of 475 nursing students, we looked at the effects of personalizing the amount of practice of students and using ever-advancing simulation technology for building high-quality resuscitation skills. What I didn't know when I began this work was that it would lead to a transformation in the standard of care in resuscitation for healthcare providers and ultimately the impact on saving lives.
Dr. Orman's studies had a strong influence on my decision to bring low-dose, high-frequency, self-directed BLS learning to Texas Health Dallas in my time there as Chief Nursing Officer. The AHA and Erdős program that evolved from her work, which we now know as RQI, or Resuscitation Quality Improvement, was introduced in 2015, and we were proud to be one of the 6 early adopter hospitals. In our experience with RQI, we improved the clinical care delivery and communication during sudden cardiac arrest and increased survival rates from 38% to 60%, almost doubling survival. In the first year, we saved $250,000 by eliminating costs and expenses associated with traditional approaches.
The AHA and Erdős RQI program was introduced about 6 years ago, followed by the formation of RQI Partners in 2018. Early results showed that the program would save approximately 10 lives per year per hospital. 2,400 hospitals have now adopted the RQI portfolio for their BLS, ALS, and PALS learning. More than 2 million nurses per year are enrolled in the programs. But most importantly, conservative estimates suggest that nurses participating in the programs have saved more than 20,000 additional lives. Yes, 20,000 lives saved by competent and confident nurses.
Dr. Orman, your research changed the face of healthcare forever, saved lives, and improves the clinician experience and confidence. As the chair of the NLN Foundation, it is always my intention that nursing students be prepared to enter the clinical practice with the life-saving competency that is achieved through the RQI program.
With great excitement today, I announce the advancement of the mission that we share with every member and every healthcare institution to achieve excellence in nursing. A landmark, transformative quality improvement collaboration with RQI, an AHA and Laerdal company, and the NLN, with no additional cost to the institution, and with repetitive, easy access for students and faculty to an essential skill for saving lives of patients and individuals in the community. We offer with our partners the RQI program. With adoption of this innovative technology, your institution can play a pivotal, life-saving role. Together, we will help nursing programs prepare their nurses with resuscitation competence and maximize the life-saving ability of nurses and other healthcare providers.
That video allowed me to express my deep commitment to each of you here today and to all members of the National League for Nursing. And it is because of that commitment that I am excited and honored to announce the new partnership between our long-standing supporters, Laerdal Medical and the American Heart Association. A partnership for quality improvement in resuscitation. A partnership that will represent and further our shared intention that nursing students be prepared to enter clinical practice with life-saving competence. This will become reality through the adoption of the AHA Resuscitation Quality Improvement Program into the nursing curriculum at higher education institutions, and will prepare future nursing professionals to respond to cardiac arrest events with verified competence and confidence, leading to more nurses saving more lives. To help kick off this exciting new partnership, we have already heard from Alf Christian Debal, the CEO of Laerdal Medical from Norway, on the video. But now, I would like to invite to the stage, from the American Heart Association, Mr. John Miners, Chief of Mission Aligned Business and Healthcare Solutions, and Dr. Brian Eigel, the Chief Executive Officer from RQI Partners.
Thank you so much, Dr. Malone. It's an honor for Laerdal Medical and the American Heart Association to join with the NLN in this collaboration as we together transform the standard of resuscitation care. All of us know that sudden cardiac arrest is the leading cause of death, but we can change that statistic through the administration of high-quality CPR to victims of cardiac arrest. The science is clear. high-quality CPR is the single highest determinant of survival for a cardiac arrest victim. Healthcare providers who participate in RQI Mastery Learning are verified to be competent every 3 months in high-quality CPR. Nurses graduating with verified competence will be prepared with the competence and confidence to respond. These nurses, along with healthcare providers, 911 operators, and trained bystanders, me and you, can create a day where no one has to die from an unexpected sudden cardiac arrest. John.
Thank you, Dr. Malone. Thank you, Brian. At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Ortman and Dr. Cardenegron to join us on the stage. More than a decade ago, Laerdal Medical, along with the American Heart Association, funded the LNN, which in turn led to a directed grant to Drs. Marilyn Ortman and Cardenegron, and the multi-site studies we just heard about in this video. As Dr. Ortman stated just now, who would have thought and known that the original research she originated and has championed for the last decade would have led to a resuscitation quality improvement program that has transformed the standard of care and saved so many lives. Without the vision and dedication of the National League for Nursing and those of Dr. Ortman and Cardenegron, RQI would have never happened. Dr. Ortman, Dr. Cardenegron, please accept this symbol of our gratitude of your accomplishments on behalf of the American Heart Association and Laerdal Medical. It reads, Resuscitation Quality Improvement Life-Saving Award in recognition and thanks for 20,000 lives saved.
Thank you, John, and congratulations, Dr. Orman and Dr. Cardenegron. But actually, we have a third award today to commemorate the past contributions of the National League for Nursing and to mark the beginning of our collaboration. We're going to present an additional Resuscitation Quality Improvement Life-Saving Award to the National League for Nursing. Dr. Malone, will you please accept this on our behalf?
Colleagues, that was not in the script. I just want to say a great big thank you to acknowledge our amazing scientist that actually moved something from science into reality in less than 17 years. You know, that's... As I said, this is an unexpected honor for the NLN. That's 2 years in a row I have been surprised with secret awards, and I'm ready for next year, so just bring it on, colleagues. Now it is my pleasure. But before I go into introducing our keynote speaker, who I am so delighted, I understand that I made an error in terms of not mentioning one of my dear, dear colleagues who is incredible and on the board. and that is Dr. Cheryl Hoeing, as a member of the NLN Board of Governors. And so, Cheryl, I am asking for your forgiveness. I want everyone to know how incredibly wonderful you really are. And that was and it was a mistake of the mind and not the heart. So. Now it is a pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Tim Raderstorf. Thank you to our special keynote sponsor, Rasmussen University, for making this possible. Tim is the Chief Innovation Officer at the Ohio State University College of Nursing, the Head of Academic Entrepreneurship at the Erdős, I hope I said that right, Tim, Institute, and the Chief Operating Officer of the nonprofit Nurses Everywhere, and I am a member. From TED Talks to textbook, Tim uses every platform he can to empower those at the front lines to change healthcare. As the first nurse to hold the Chief Innovation Officer title in academia, he takes pride in educating the world on the role of the nurse as an innovator. He is the founder of the Innovation Studio, a makerspace that democratizes innovation, providing every interprofessional team that pitches their innovation with the funding, tools, and mentorship needed to turn ideas into actions. In addition to this work, Tim is an assistant professor of clinical practice in the Masters of Healthcare Innovation program at The Ohio State. Today, Tim will speak about taking our seat at the innovation table. Colleagues, please join me in welcoming Dr. Tim Raderstorf.
How's everyone doing? Great. If I could get slides on the monitor here, that'd be wonderful to start. Thank you so much for the honor to be here, all of my masked and socially distanced friends. This is truly a lifelong goal of mine, to be standing on the stage and talking with my colleagues about how together we can change the future of nursing by taking our seat at the innovation table. But, you know, innovation is all about managing risk and uncertainty. And I was going to see if I could take a little bit of a risk in starting this conversation with you all today. So would it be okay with you if we took a little bit of a risk? I've never done this before in a presentation, but when I was preparing for this honor, this privilege of standing on the stage today, it didn't feel right for me to be on the stage without first acknowledging the vast amount of privilege that I've had that's gotten me here. So, you know, that a lot of those things are evident just by looking at me, but some of those things came from being born into a family with exceptional parents and a wonderful support system. Other aspects of privilege came from finding myself in a role where I was surrounded by mentors and people and resources, all of which who are overflowing with talent. And then another one comes from just having a family who supports me and provides me with every resource I can imagine and challenges me in new ways each day. So I want you to know two things before we start. One is that I don't take this privilege lightly. You know, through my work with Nurses Everywhere and the work that I've had the privilege of doing with Bev, we've spent a lot of effort in trying to elevate the voice of nursing, but a lot of that needs to happen in a much broader area with people who don't look like me. And I think all of us can hopefully get behind the idea of that our nursing communities need to be better representative of the communities that we serve. Thank you. So 2, I want you to know that I'm coming at this from an immense place of gratitude, and I want to thank each of you for giving me this honor. Without you in the audience, the privilege of being here today would not exist. So I stand on your shoulders today, and I hope that collectively together we'll be able to advance nursing in ways that we've never seen through innovation. So you all ready to shift gears and hop into talking about how we can take our seat at the innovation table? Great. Just so you all know in the audience, my slides aren't working up here, so I'm standing very close to the edge, and I may fall in at some point. So if we can have spotters ready in the front row, that'd be great. I started my career, found I wanted to be a nurse because I worked at a summer camp for kids with chronic illnesses, so we would always be spotting them in our efforts. So as we look at taking our seat at the innovation table, I want everyone in the audience, please raise your hand if you've ever been invited to be part of a discussion on innovation. Awesome, look at all those hands up. Okay, keep them up, keep them up. Now, I want you to stand up if you've been invited to that conversation by someone who's not a nurse. That's pretty awesome too. Not as many people as we'd like to see stand up. Some hands went down, but thank you for participating. I think that there is a bit of a gap between having conversations about innovation in healthcare that happen within nursing and then what happens with outside of nursing. So, you know, I don't think very often we're seeing a reserve sign in the boardroom for nurses. I think we can probably agree on that when we talk about innovation. And really, I think the only person that may want us there, or the only thing that may want us there is that red chair, saying, man, I wish today's the day that a nurse is going to sit on me. It's just not going to happen, right? Love Mindy Kaling. Okay, so we need to change the system, right? I think we can all agree on that. But the next thing we need to figure out is, how do we do that? Well, I was so delighted when I saw that the title for this year's workshop, in building resilient or moving beyond resilience, because I have a bit of a admittedly love-hate relationship with the term resilience. I apologize if this offends anyone. It's a bit of a hot take, but I think there's the good resilience and there's the bad resilience, right? And I really like shifting that towards ambition. We're going to dive into that here. But the good resilience is I can do that. I believe in myself, right? That's a really positive example of resilience. When we teach ourselves to push past boundaries and grow, that's amazing. But the bad resilience is when organizations say, you need to change to be able to adapt to our system. When our hospitals are saying, hey, clinicians, we're broken, we need you to fix yourselves to be able to work in our environment. What I love to see is a shift to a culture of ambition, where instead those same clinicians recognize that problem exists. Sure, we're all broken, we're all working in flawed systems, but when we say, hey, hospital, we like who we are, we think that we're pretty good, what we need to change is you, and we're going to take the ambition to do that, that's where we're going to start to see our clinicians being happier and healthier in their work environments, when they have ownership over the decisions that are being made within their organizations. Thank you. Should have stayed over there. Sorry, I was one slide behind. So, I promise this is going to be my only Hamilton reference of the day. I was raised in a musical theater family. There may be other musical theater references. I can't control them when they happen. But I hope that you're with me, ready to rise up and build a culture of ambition within our profession as we look to change healthcare. All right, risk number 2 I'm taking today. Never used Pull Everywhere before, but I'd love for you to pull out your phones here and answer this question. If you can text the number 37607 and type in TimR753 and then your answer to that question. What is the initial ambition that got you into nursing? Was it to impact people's lives? You love the science. We all do it for the money, right, people? There's a flexibility, and maybe you're not sure. Maybe there's a different reason. I'd love to see your answers to that. I'm going to move on to a different slide in 1 second. It's number 37607 and TimR753. But the reason I want to talk to you about that, we'll show results after this slide, is to talk about our pathway to impact. You know, how many of you out there are kings and queens of the workaround? How many of you use tongue depressors and tape to make your patients' lives better? Yeah, I expect every hand to come up, right? The problem is we don't tell people about those workarounds because we're afraid that we're going to get in trouble for doing that. What we need to do as nurses, as healthcare providers, is shift our mindset behind the workaround, because the workaround usually impacts an N of 1. And what we want to do, and I hope when we show examples here of what you want to do in a second of impact, is move that N to much larger than 1. So you need to reframe those workarounds as innovation. And then the next hot take that you have to think about here is do what we just saw from our phenomenal researchers. How do you commercialize that research? Because I would imagine if we asked that research team, if they hadn't partnered with Laerdal, would there be an opportunity to have saved those 20,000 lives? The reason that the impact was there is that they partnered with an organization that was able to help them commercialize, bring that to the market so that it just wouldn't happen at the university they were at, it would happen at universities around the world. So that's what I want us to focus on too, is getting a little bit more comfortable with the fact that we do work in an environment where commercialization is the best pathway or the biggest pathway to impact. Hot take number 3, the pull system didn't work. For those of you who didn't know here, it was like 97% to impact people's lives, I'm guessing. We'll see. You have some failures during COVID, it's all good. All right, so the next thing that we can talk about here is how we do this one. And one of my favorite things is adopting an entrepreneurial mindset. Now, entrepreneurship goes back to that concept of commercialization and that little bit of fear that we had, because I'd imagine not many of us got into nursing for that second answer or third answer that said to make more money. But the entrepreneurial mindset is not about making money, it's about making impact. And through that, you create raving fans. So I'd love for you all to think about what raving fans mean to you as a nurse educator. That means that your students are coming to work each day excited to be part of your classwork. They're learning something new, and then they're going out and having a positive impact on other people's lives. Did the slide advance me? Okay, there we go. Sorry, it dropped out again. So as we think about having raving fans, I want you to think about what that looks like for you. For me, raving fans on this stage is to make sure that you guys walk out of this and say, wow, that was one of the best keynotes I've ever heard. So that's my entrepreneurial mindset as I'm up here thinking about how I can get you all to have that feeling from being in this room tonight. But really quickly, I think it's important that we dive into what innovation and entrepreneurship are so we're a little more comfortable with those terms. So let's call it out here. Tell me, what do you guys think innovation is? Something new, creative, change, improve, create. Great. Those are all very, very close. There's one important concept that needs to be included with that. So innovation is defined as the process of implementing new products, services, or solutions that create, whoever yelled that out there, value. So really innovation is nothing more than implementing new value, creating new value with an organization. So you may say, well, what's the difference between that and entrepreneurship? And it's pretty simple. It's not very different at all. The definition is the exact same, plus the intent. So on the back end, when we talk about that entrepreneurial mindset, it's that intent of value for profit. And when you have that entrepreneurial mindset as a clinician, you're thinking, who's profiting on this? What happens if I end up going into the Pyxis system and pull out 3 4x4s and I know I only need 1? Who does that impact? How do I leverage these resources so that the patients can be the ones who profit the most out of the work that we're doing? So building nurses' entrepreneurial mindset. One of my favorite things to teach, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, are Nightingale's nursing concepts. And if you're scratching your head right now and looking at this like, I don't know those. That's right, because I made them up. Poof, right? They have appeared out of thin air. Those are not Nightingale's nursing concepts. Those are Morris's entrepreneurial concepts, okay? But when you take those entrepreneurial concepts and add it to what we call the nursing process in our world, look how those line up. Now, this is my interpretation of how they line up. I'm sure there are many other people who are more qualified than I who could figure out even different ways to make them line up. But assessing opportunity, recognizing opportunity, managing uncertainty, mitigating risk, that sounds like the first 15 minutes of every shift, right? We're creating new value. We're planning and modeling when nothing else exists. Been there, done that as a nurse, right? So as we think about this, you're all already teaching the entrepreneurial mindset in the classroom. It's already happening. We just haven't phrased it. We haven't reframed it as innovation and entrepreneurship. And I tell you, as this new generation of students come into healthcare, there's going to be a big desire for that delineation and that work within innovation. Our students want to have impact. We know that. And I think innovation is perhaps one of the best ways to do it. So I have a challenge for you this weekend. As you're going from conference room to conference room, I encourage you to follow one of the favorite things, and we've heard examples of this over and over again already today. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. But there's a key reason that I'm asking you to do this. You need to be comfortable being uncomfortable because growth and comfort do not coexist. When you find yourself in that level of discomfort, know that that's when immense growth within is occurring. And then, product of the 80s. One other key thing that we need to start doing as nurses is change the story. I've got Teddy Ruxpin up here because for those of you who had Teddy Ruxpins or children who have Teddy Ruxpins, their quality control was a little iffy. So sometimes you get halfway through a book and you'd have to change the story. Well, here we are now at a major inflection point, and it is our opportunity to change the story. And I'd love to tell you about a way that we're trying to do that at Ohio State. Is this, as we have built a structure of innovation. So another time for us to be maybe a little vulnerable together. Who out here has said the worst 5 words in the American language? I'm just a nurse, right? That's not my responsibility. I don't have the permission to do those things. It's literally the worst 5 words I think you can say as a professional when you classify yourself as just. And it doesn't have to be just a nurse. It can be I'm just a mom, I'm just a dad, I'm just a student or a teacher. I don't have the permission to be anything more than that. And I want to talk to you that innovation calls BS on all of that. It's not an elitist sport. There's plenty of evidence that shows that innovation is actually most effective when it's done by people who understand the problem that they're impacting the most. It's a concept called the ideation rate, and it's so beautiful for a lot of reasons, but it resonates most clearly in the profession of nursing, I believe, because it's a yes and approach. See, the ideation rate is defined as the number of ideas generated by frontline staff and who has more ideas than nurses, right? But there's an important and that comes on that. It's not just the number of ideas. The and is they have to be approved by management. And when you have the ideas that are generated and approved, and you divide that by the total number of people who work in the system, that's your ideation rate. Now think about how healthcare is structured right now. How many times does a nurse manager have the opportunity to say, yes, here's a resource? It doesn't happen very often. So that's why ideation rate is such a great statistic for us to lean on, because we can show what happens when we empower the front lines and we empower the decision makers. Together, the impact is exponential. And I bet you've been in this rat race before. I'd imagine if I asked you to raise your hands, I'm not going to do it a 4th time here, but you all would say you have an idea that you could change the world, right? But it's really challenging to know where to begin. Sometimes you find yourself at the starting line and you're looking around like, hey, are we running this direction or that direction? How do we do this? Well, you need to know that that's not a you problem, that's a structure of innovation problem. And the way that we're addressing that at Ohio State is by providing people with the 2 things they need most for a structure of innovation. The first is the permission to innovate. Now, I bet most of your organizations have innovation as either in your mission vision or your values or your core competencies. Innovation is embedded throughout. We use the term all the time to the point where I had to define it earlier on today. But really, what people need is the permission to innovate. They need to be able to told that this is a safe place that you can come to and get things done. And the second thing that you need to build a proper structure of innovation that's free is a concept we call validation, or more appropriately, inspirational capital. So that could be a resource to a mentor, that could be access to a mentor, or to prototyping materials, or a grant. But we've found that the most impactful aspect of inspirational capital is the face-to-face conversation. the empowerment, when you sit down with someone and say, hey, I'm so glad you're on our team and that you're bringing these ideas forward. I'm not sure what's going to happen with this, but I couldn't have come up with it. So thank you so much for being part of our team. We're going to keep swinging for the fences, and I know eventually you're going to hit a home run, and I'm going to be there cheering you on all along the way. That permission and those validation, those two things are free, and we could all start doing them tonight. Now, the other things that we need to think about aren't always free. And the model that we've done to set up that permission and validation at Ohio State is a concept called the Innovation Studio. It's a movable makerspace. You can see it here, 16 by 16 cubicle. Everything but those red walls are on wheels, and we can put it in the back of a U-Haul and then be across campus in a new location in about 2 hours back up and running. And inside, you're going to find amazing things like 3D printers and laser cutters and Arduinos, Raspberry Pis, all these things that sound made up and weird. And I had no idea what they were until I started doing this work. But the most important component of the Innovation Studio is the people that are within. Those frontline workers, the people who understand the problem the most. Without them, there's no success. So what we do with the Innovation Studio is that we set it up so that we travel from location to location across campus, and we stay at one spot for about 7 weeks at a time. And this isn't just a nursing component, it's open to everyone, because we believe that the only way for nursing to be recognized for the innovation work that we do is by pulling along and bringing along all of our peers with us and showcasing our value. So we set up in these high traffic locations, and then about 7 weeks later, we host a pitch day. But before that pitch day, we're constantly bringing in people. We have snacks, we have food and money. Those are the things that always get people in the door. So if you ever need to get people in the door, use food and money, it's great. So we bring them in and we ask them some important questions like, what's the best part of your day? What's the worst part of your day? What do you wish your manager would solve for you? And then we ask them the most important question. What if you solve the problem yourself? And then from there, we start ideating and we start coming up with concepts that may or may not be great, but it's a start. And we say, hey, we're having a pitch day on this date in a couple weeks. Why don't you show up? Because we're going to do something that you probably won't believe. We're going to fund you when you walk in that door. Every team who walks through the door on pitch day gets a micro grant from the Innovation Studio. It's somewhere between $250 to $1,500 to get started. But it becomes that yes and culture that we talked about with the ideation rate of giving people the permission and then the validation that their ideas are worth pursuing. Now, I imagine you're thinking this is some type of millennial delusion. It's the participation trophy model. Hey, everyone come in, you get some money from us. But remember, it's based in evidence that we saw through the ideation rate. And I'll give you a couple examples. This is a team led by a couple nurses who wanted to change the way that we deal with patients who are addicted to opioids. They look just like you, they look just like me. And a lot of times in hospitals, we don't know that these people are struggling with their addiction. So Karen, the woman here, wanted to come up with a tamper-evident seal that would go over all of our IV lines, so that if patients were attempting to cheek and then inject their medication into their IVs, we'd be able to tell that they were tampering, and then we could give them the support services that they needed. Now, when you talk about accelerating that 17-year timeline, this is a bedside nurse who's on a boat in the summer and draws, as cliche as it could possibly be, this idea on a napkin. And in October, she shows up at our first pitch day and says, hey, I have this idea. And over the next 9 months, she works on figuring out how to create a 3-layer tape. She ends up using a laser cutter to develop prototypes and takes them back to her staff and continue to ask them, how can we make this better for you so that it's a game-changing opportunity for you? And in 9 months, she ends up signing an international licensing deal with one of the top distributors of medical-grade tape. Now, in total, we're going to dispel a myth here. It cost us $240.20. $240.20 in 9 months. You see, innovation also doesn't have to be expensive. When you empower people who understand the problem the most, typically they're going to come up with a non-disruptive innovation, which are my favorites, incremental innovation that doesn't require a lot of behavior change and often doesn't require a lot of expense. But now, because she went down this path, she's not just impacting patients at the Ross Heart Hospital, she's impacting patients in Japan. So as we think about that curve we talked about before, and we move from the workaround, which she had a workaround before she came up with this product, when you think about that curve, think about how many lives she's going to change. Maybe one day she'll get to 20,000 lives saved. But also you need to know it's not just about, let's see, reverse, there we go. It's not just about products that we have in the health system. This is one of our phenomenal graduates who's now a PhD student at Penn. But she wanted to write a book about the microbiome and teaching kids that not all bacteria is bad. You don't have to put hand sanitizer all over everything. There's good bacteria in our body. And she went through that same 9-month process of coming to us with an idea, not having an illustrator, and then figuring out the entire self-publication process virtually on her own. And you can see here when she debuted on Amazon in August of 2019, they were the number one, or 2017, 18, they were the number one new release on Amazon. But the other really cool thing is that this is not just for nurses only. You know, those collisions are what we need to do to showcase our expertise. So one of my favorite stories is about a group that wanted to build the world's highest flying drone. They wanted to measure glacial melt in Peru. And the glacier had a huge reservoir below it of a city of about 1 million people. So they were really concerned about the water quality and then perhaps catastrophic issues with the dam that held that reservoir. So they came to the Innovation Studio and ended up turning about $5,500 into 15 patent applications through that process. And he said to us when that happened, he said, you know, before the Innovation Studio, I was dumpster diving for parts. And now they're having this massive impact in changing the world of aviation. So again, it's that structure. What if your organization started developing a structure of organization, innovation that empowered people to come forward with their ideas so they weren't afraid that they'd be told no, that they weren't going to get their hand slapped for using tongue depressors and tape in a new way? Maybe then we'd take that just out of the equation, all right? And we start saying, I am a nurse, I am a mom, I am a student, I'm a teacher, and I'm also an innovator. So it's time for us to take a good, hard look in the mirror as nurses, right? We need to start determining how we're gonna change forward. Complacency is clearly not gonna happen, is clearly not the pathway forward. And I think right now we've never been more sure that our voices need to be heard more than ever. So we need to get comfortable being uncomfortable and start screaming our stories from the top of our lungs. And I hope that you, and then maybe one day we're gonna end up having that red chair say, yep, it finally happened. That's why we've had nurses at the table all along, or we need them here. And if you find yourself in a Forrest Gump situation where you walk in on a conversation about innovation and there's no opportunity for you there, I want you to think of this moment and think of this as your permission slip. This is how you can be most effective when it comes to taking your seat at the innovation table. You take the words of the immortal Shirley Chisholm, and if they don't give you a seat at the table, we're gonna bring our folding chair from here on out, right? So thank you all so much for the opportunity to be here with you today. I could not be more thrilled. I'll be here. I'm giving a presentation tomorrow if you want to talk about how we bring this into the classroom. We're going to talk about an opportunity with 3D printed objects, another with digital escape rooms, and a last one about rapid prototyping. So please find me today or find me on social. I'd love to talk to you about amplifying your voice and about how we can take our seat at the innovation table. Thank you all so very much. Be curious.
Tim, you forgot your folding chair. I may sit on it. Please, let's give another round of applause to our colleague. What a wonderful, powerful perspective. We so appreciate your sharing your well-timed insights with us today. And innovation is the name I believe that's what nursing has been doing for an extended period of time. And we just called it necessity, getting the job done, making sure patients receive the care they need, regardless of whatever we had to use to make that happen. But I believe that nurses have always been innovators and entrepreneurs
folks who just didn't even understand all the abilities they bring to the table, and always to have their folding chair with them. So thank you always to my NLN chair, Dr. Patricia Yoder-Wise, and to the entire Board of Governors. Now I have some important announcements to make as we conclude the opening session today. Last week, you were emailed a Navigating the Summit information packet. The packet contained a lot of helpful information, perhaps most importantly, information related to receiving your CEUs. As you have already experienced, you must scan your badge prior to entering each and every session. You will not be able to scan your badge at the conclusion of the session. No, no, no. This goes for both the concurrent sessions and general sessions held in this room. Your CEU evaluation will be tied to the sessions for which you scanned yourself in. You will receive an email following the summit with a link to complete your online evaluation and download your certificate. Also, if you haven't already, please download the NLN Summit mobile app. Just search for NLN Summit in the Apple Store or the Google Store, Google Play. With the app, you can stay up to date with the latest announcements and engage with our attendees through the activity feed. And you can enter our drawing, to win one of 3 Amazon gift cards by playing the app game. Colleagues, you are members of the NLN community, and we want you to have an outstanding summit experience. Thank you again to Joan Rich and Rasmussen University for your support of this event, and thank you to each and every one of you that has joined us today. And now, it's on to the opening reception. Exhibits and posters, and I know you will have a grand time, so let's make it happen. Thank you so very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the exhibit hall and throughout the rest of the summit.